lost inside the doorway. Use it only in emergency. Better you should pray to God, the Father and the Spirit will guide you and protect you from up here. Can you hear me?
We are coming to you live from the Republic Broadcasting Network, where you can handle the truth. Good evening from Boston, Massachusetts. My name is Frank Allen. Tonight, we welcome Karen Stewart, NSA Whistleblower, on the Republic Broadcasting Network. And I'm going to cut right to the chase, but at the same time, call into the show live and ask a question at 800-313-9443 or listen at 605-313-0163. Once again, to call in and ask a question, 800-313-9443 or listen at 605-313-0163. And we'll go right to Karen.
Hey, Frank. Hey, guys. How are you guys doing? I hope you're doing as well as can be under the circumstances.
Yeah, I think we're doing fine. Things could be better, but we have our good days and our bad days. And welcome.
Well, thank you very much. It's good to be here. I'm honored to be asked to be here. There's a lot of stuff going on. I don't think I have something necessarily extremely specific to say, but if people want to ask questions, that's fine. I was just asked to write up a kind of a mini affidavit. I had written one before overall and given it to Dr. Catherine Horton for her lawsuit in Europe, hoping to help people over there. And then somebody else over here asked me to write up a specific one concerning why I think that the fusion centers are involved. So I did that, and having some people look it over and tell me if it's adequate to the purpose, how it strikes them. If you want to, I could go through that story tonight, or we could go on to something else.
No, that sounds great. Fusion centers right now are a big topic. Midge Mathis and Richard Lighthouse have both brought them up, and we intend to visit a fusion center here in Massachusetts. So that should be interesting. But, yeah, that's a good hot topic.
Oh, that's excellent. I'm glad you guys are doing that. Yeah, I suspected they were involved when I was in Florida, but then I got eyewitness proof with myself being the eyewitness. So I don't know. Maybe I'll read this to you guys, and then you can prove it for me and tell me what you think of the affidavit. All right. Of course, as any affidavit, it says I so and so on this day of February, blah blah blah. But to start out, it says in February 2015. My lawyer submitted a subpoena request to Judge Lawrence Gallagher at the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, EEOC, where I filed a suit against the National Security Agency in 2010. Just to go to an aside on this, I was fired by the National Security Agency after 28 years of service for reporting something to the Inspector General that they did not want reported. So I'll go on. It says the subpoena was to request Maryland Department of Motor Vehicles records to include the driver's license image of Maryland resident Eric Hageman of Laurel, Maryland, to corroborate my own investigation and eyewitness knowledge, showing he was the person who had broken into my home beginning in August 2006, and which is after I had reported what I did to the Inspector General, and had trespassed multiple times after that, after stealing house keys, P.O. box keys, and car keys to the original break-in, in the original break-in, which left a broken sliding glass door handle and lock mechanism. In March 2015, I noted a man and this is years later, I noticed a man in a pickup who seemed to be following me, stalking me, like low-level NSA security goons had in Maryland. I identified them going to work at the NSA security building, so I know it was NSA security stalking me years before. Yet at that time, I was living in Tallahassee, Florida, and had not been stalked by NSA in an overt, threatening manner since 2009. A couple weeks later, I again found myself being photo-stalked by strangers who identified as working for Naval Security in Pensacola, Florida. I have a photo of one and a photo of the car of the other to include the tag. Note that their headquarters is on Fort Meade, Maryland, co-located with NSA headquarters. After the photo stalking, presumably to use a current photo to direct yet another stalking operation against me, indeed, I suddenly found myself being overtly stalked by multiple people in early April of 2015. The Naval Security Group is nicknamed Silent Warriors due to their expertise in electronic weaponry, such as directed energy weapons and anti-personnel directed energy devices. Interestingly enough, the night before this happened, about a 30 to 60-minute barrage of mystery booming sounds came after dark from the Laura Phipps property on Lake Jackson in Tallahassee, Florida, for no known reason. There was no accompanying light which would indicate fireworks and no known celebration of any kind in the community. It seemed to be a recording of actual military large gun barrages played over enormous speakers to reach as many people as possible. I called the Leon County Sheriff's Department and about the noise and spoke to a deputy, Jeffrey Cannon. He informed me that sheriff's deputies had escorted representatives for a special exercise to be held at the Laura Phipps property. And I have something that's covering this, so I can't see it. Laura Phipps property close by is to include the FDLE, which is the Florida Department of Law Enforcement, and which is also co-located with the Tallahassee Fusion Center. NSA had no facilities nearby, nor did any federal agency of any significance. And I'm kind of ad-libbing here because it's covered. So the fact that he reported that they had escorted NSA through town to go to the Phipps property for a secret exercise with several other agencies was highly suspicious and improbable because it didn't seem logical. So, and there was, like I said, there's nothing in the capital city of Tallahassee that would warrant anything like that. He also said that he had been in the military and knew that such recordings as the barrage played the previous night were often used to signal participants in a military exercise spread over a large area that the exercise was beginning. Let's see now. From April 2015 through November 2015, I was stalked and harassed in Tallahassee by what appeared to be civilians, and we all know they're in infrared. The pattern of harassment fit perfectly the previous patterns of stalking harassment engaged in by low-level NSA security goons. It would appear my subpoena upset them. They did not want the burglar tied to NSA. The EEOC judge illegally ignored our subpoena request, however, but the stalking harassment continued in the precise methodology showing it was orchestrated and choreographed. I concluded that they must want me to drop my lawsuit, but I would not. I attempted to file a Florida Sunshine Act request to demand any correspondence, mail, email, phone call records regarding Leon County Sheriff Department communication with the NSA in regard to me. They initially told me that there were 800-plus pages of corresponding documents in that regard. Despite the state law, however, the Leon County Sheriff's Department then refused my request unless I coughed up $2,000 for administrative fees, which clearly was beyond outrageous and meant to totally subvert the Florida Sunshine Act. In late 2015, yes.
I didn't want to interrupt, but I mean, all they have to do is pull up the document, hit print, and hand you the copy. Where do they come up with $2,000? God.
For their time. It was baloney. It was absolute total baloney. outrageous. It's the usual way that governments get around laws that apply to them. And I have another example of that later in the document, which is just absolutely outrageous. In late November 2015, because this has been going on almost the entire year of 2015, I was staying with my parents, actually, at the time in Florida. My parents' home where I was staying in Florida was hit overnight with a horrific electronic field projected so strongly into the house that it fried smaller electronics like the router and my personal cell phone, ruining them and damaging larger appliances like the refrigerator, dishwasher, and microwave oven. It even made our large adult dogs pee themselves, and it killed my cat. Weeks of nightly attacks became standard. We had an expert electrician examine the home's electrical system, but he found no problem coming from within the house, only unexplained damage from an outside source. We also noted that when the attacks occurred, not only our cable was completely jammed to include landline phones, but that Comcast reported suddenly having problems affecting 94% of their users in the Greenwood Hills area. They also reported damage to cables and routers like they had never seen before, and stated that they had a record 10 repair vans dispatched to Greenwood Hills alone in late 2015, early 2016 at one time. As the attacks continued, I noted that people were being let out of a car after dark with a box or attaché case at the edge of the woods near our home. At dawn, the attacks would cease, and I would see the same people run out of the woods, then get picked up by a car and driven away. This went on for several weeks, and this would push it into early 2016. In the meantime, I also noted two strangers going house to house, though not to ours, showing what seemed to be badges and being let into the home. When these strangers returned, they seemed to bring equipment and spend time teaching the residents how to use the unknown equipment or using it from their property for them. Each time this happened, the male and female in their 30s would stay at the homes for several days or even weeks. The attacks then started to come from these homes, and these people, as borne out by special meters, one of them being a Tri-Field XE100, which I had attained to measure electromagnetic energy. It was off the charts dangerous when these participating line-of-sight homes were subjected to measurement. In one case, the two strangers actually were allowed to live in one couple's massive RV in their driveway and power a horrifically strong device from the RV engine. I realized that none of the homes were using their own home electricity, but rather RV, car engine, or emergency generators to power the devices, so as to not leave a telltale spike in their own electric bill of the constant attacks. Once several homes were induced to participate, the men running into and out of the woods at dusk and dawn disappeared. They were not needed anymore. Neighbors had been bribed. Now, this is a side note. I did watch this for a long time, and I ended up firing a BB gun into the woods because there should have been nothing there. And I would fire a BB gun into that area repeatedly. And on one occasion, within 10 minutes, a car sped up, and a man jumped out of the woods carrying his box or attaché case and jumped in the car, and it sped away. He seemed to actually be holding some kind of cloth to his head or face, and it may have been bloody, though it was a little bit hard to see. But I think I did get one of them, so, I was rather happy about that. I'm sorry to say. Let's see now. After that, I videotaped the meter. I would make several videotapes of the meter going wild as we were under attack and showed it to the Leon County Sheriff's Department deputies, who blew me off, mocked, and insulted me, even when I began getting proof of sudden injury caused by the electromagnetic weapons, similar to the weapons used later to attack our diplomats in Cuba in 2017 and China in 2018, and similar to their injuries. But the ignorant and or complicit law enforcement refused to help or even educate themselves or investigate. When I attempted to contact the local and national FBI, I was hung up on if I called, and when I called. And my certified letters were basically never arrived. I never got the return receipt. So they were being intercepted. So I decided to write a report on the domestic terrorism I was witnessing and walk it into the FDLE Fusion Center and ask to speak with the people in the domestic terrorism unit, those who advertise, see something, say something, on their billboard. After all, it was their purview and jurisdiction. I wanted to see how they reacted to being asked to do their job. In July 2016, I took my written report and went to the FDLE Fusion Center in Tallahassee, Florida. I requested to meet with the appropriate people. I waited in the lobby 30 minutes or so. I had noticed that the covert stalkers used to follow me and hit me with directed energy weapons from their cars, which usually is they usually have them actually attached to the car engine so that they're powered by the car engines, had ceased hitting me when I drove into the Fusion Center parking lot. They did not aim their weapons into the building either, as where they had never ceased aiming them at me even when I went to the Leon County Sheriff's Department building or the Tallahassee Police Department. I sat there 30 minutes without being fried for the first time and only time since November 2015, 6 months previous to that. These weapons cause brain inflammation and horrific headaches, as well as other damage. As I sat there, waiting, 3 people, likely in their 30s, came out to meet me. Immediately, I recognized 2 of them as being the strangers in my neighborhood, inducing and instructing neighbors on how to use electronic weapons to harass, harm, and murder me. Their names were Annie White, who was identified as an FBI employee, and Mr. Kennedy. I did not catch the second woman's name. I did not let on that I knew exactly who they were. I introduced myself as a retired national security intelligence analyst and offered my written report to them in regard to domestic terrorist incidents and people involved by name and address in Tallahassee. Mr. Kennedy waved me off with a smug, "Not interested." I stated, "So you are telling me that despite your see something, say something motto, you are refusing to even look at a report written for you by a 28-year retired intelligence analyst who worked for the NSA." He again smirked and said, "Not interested." I then said, "Covert, banned, highly sophisticated electronic weapons are being used illegally on civilians. You do not care about that? They are categorized as weapons of mass destruction, and anyone in possession of them is considered a terrorist, and you are not interested." He again obnoxiously laughed and said, "Tell it to the FCC if you are having problems with your electricity." Then he and the other women turned and left.
Okay, Karen, we have to go to commercial.
I heard that music.
Yeah, we'll be back in 3 minutes. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you, Karen.
Folks, we're living in a world the likes of which we've never perceived any clearer than we do now. The plan for global governance has been in the works for generations and would have likely been achieved by now but for the fact that the globalists left open their Achilles heel. With all their tools, Federal Reserve System, fiat currency, no child left behind, and then Common Core education introduced to our schools to dumb us down, vaccines, pharmaceuticals to lobotomize us, GMO foods, insertion of compromised or bought and paid for politicians, judges, mainstream media propaganda, all pieced together like a puzzle designed to ultimately bring the world under submission. But with all their strategy, they forgot one thing: knowledge. And knowledge is power. With knowledge, their bombardment is nullified. Folks, with that, as brilliant and knowledgeable as you've become, among the wisest audience of any radio audience in the world, and you are, I want you to take a moment to reflect and ask yourself, how much of that knowledge did I obtain from Republic Broadcasting Network? How high has my consciousness been raised since I've been a listener? How fast am I now able to discriminate truth from fake news by being a Republic Broadcasting listener? How clear am I now able to see the world since I've been listening to RBN? Ask yourselves those questions, folks. Then ask yourself, what is that knowledge worth to me? Like my morning coffee, how would I survive without it? A voice of truth in a sea of lies. Do we not all need to make sure it survives? Like public broadcasting, we are now finding we can only survive with listener support. Censorship, advertisers being attacked, truth itself being attacked. It's the only way through this. We at Republic Broadcasting humbly ask you to become a supporter. Look at your budget and make a determination of what Republic Broadcasting is worth to you and what you can afford on a monthly basis. Go to republicbroadcasting.org and pledge $20, $30, $40, $50, if possible, $100 a month or more if it's affordable. Click the donate button and become a regular monthly donor. Assure both us and yourself that Republic Broadcasting truth will continue to flow like that morning coffee. The network thanks you.
Homeowners, are you in foreclosure, expecting to be served with a foreclosure lawsuit, or suspect your lender has coerced you into an illegal mortgage transaction? A huge number of mortgages made in the last 10 years have legal issues and are possibly defective. State laws and the U.S. Supreme Court have upheld that defective mortgage documents are grounds for foreclosure defense and for counterclaims in favor of the homeowner. If your mortgage has been sold or assigned since closing the loan, it may be defective and you may be paying the wrong party, and the lender may not have standing or the right to foreclose or collect payments under the law. If you would like to know if your mortgage is legal or not, or know if you are paying the right party, we can help. Our initial consultations are free of charge. We are not attorneys. We are legal researchers and work closely with experienced lawyers who know how to help you find the evidence to help you keep your home. Call toll-free 1-855-2-KEEP-IT. That's 1-855-2-KEEP-IT today.
Good evening from Boston, Massachusetts. My name is Frank Allen. Tonight, we welcome Karen Stewart, NSA Whistleblower, on the Republic Broadcasting Network, as she lays out a sequence of events that is just unreal. And Karen, I think you left off with the FCC.
Yes, the smart aleck remark by the Fusion Center bully in regard to the FCC. I'll repeat it. He again obnoxiously laughed and said, "Tell it to the FCC if you're having a problem with your electricity," which pertained to the horrific electrical damage done to the appliances and other electrical devices in the home where I was staying in Florida after being hit by the electromagnetic weapons all night for several weeks. So that was his smart-ass remark. And I will finish off this in only a couple small paragraphs. I put that I left the building, left the parking lot, and was immediately followed by strangers aiming electronic weapons at me from their cars. It was not stopped for any significant amount of time. It has not stopped for any significant amount of time since then. I believe the Fusion Center villains and the stalkers know exactly how dangerous the devices are, and the InfraGard civilian mercenary stalkers used for deniability are 100% forbidden to aim them at their Fusion Center masters. I left Florida and returned to Maryland in December 2016. Again, Fusion Center personnel have visited several neighbors here who appear to be involved in the continual contract issued by crooks within the NSA to harass, harm, and murder me, to give the Fusion Centers yet another innocent scapegoat to attack to justify their unjustifiable, parasitic, and anti-American existence. And that's where I end. So there may be something I stick in concerning the fact that I had gone to the Leon County Sheriff's Department, spoken to the duty officer there, and explained to him the vicious harassment. And he looked at me and said, "What is your name again?" And I told him. And so he got up from his desk and went out to the parking lot. And I followed him. He went to his own personal car, opened the trunk, pulled out a handful of folders. And I estimate there should have been probably about 12 to 20 folders. And he went through them, found one that had my name on it, looked through it, and then closed it back up again, threw the folders back in the trunk of his car, and said that he couldn't help me, meaning that I was on the list, that he couldn't help. So this is yet again another way they get around following the law themselves. So if I had a lawyer demand to see whatever records they had, they wouldn't be on the Leon County Sheriff's Department premises. They would be in somebody's trunk. And I'm sure the fusion centers have told them to do it that way to avoid being detected. So that's the level of law enforcement depravity and criminality that we face trying to get our constitutional rights adhered to.
So the fusion centers would seem to be a point at which they can come out and do damage. In other words, the NSA may be too far away, but they can walk out of their fusion center and form an attack squad. Does that sound like what's going on?
For many people, yes. And now there are some military involved, and I don't think they necessarily go through fusion centers. But my case shows that NSA pretty much directed it. They ordered it like you would direct a hit on someone. And they had their cohorts at the Naval Security Group bring their devices to the fusion center in Tallahassee and pass them out to civilians to use on me. So they were supplying them, no doubt. The Naval Security Group were supplying them. And by the way, the nickname for the Naval Security Group, if I didn't say it, I may have, is the Silent Warriors, because they are known to utilize directed energy weapons, both war theater size, meaning on a ship, and also anti-personnel ones that can be handheld and anything in between.
This is unreal.
Yeah,
I keep saying that because I just can't imagine that, but at the same time, I'm getting slammed every day, so I really know what it's like, but I've never had my house fried. That'll be a first. If that must have been astronomical in strength.
It was horrific, and I ended up basically going to the other side of the house because I noticed that they were honing in on me, and I was staying with my parents, and I'm no young chick, so my parents are quite elderly, so I ended up going across the house and sleeping in the laundry room between the washing machine and the dryer, and then learning very quickly how to shield. So the attacks were horrible. I tried to also shield the dogs as much as possible, but they were in horrific distress as well.
Oh, that's terrible. I can't imagine. So they actually got the whole neighborhood, but you were the target. Is that what I'm hearing?
Well, they essentially got most of them involved, yes.
Okay, we have to go to commercial and station identification at the bottom of the hour. Thank you very much.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org. So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
Talk Right, the conservative app offered by TalkStream Live that caters exclusively to the conservative talk radio community. Here you'll see only talk shows and podcasts from the conservative right. All the big broadcast names and online digital shows in one place. Talk Right makes it easy to find all your favorite conservative talkers with all the upscale features you come to expect from TalkStream Live. Keep up with the fast-paced political world. Download Talk Right today from Google Play or the App Store.
Many people write us about their experience with Extendivite. Allow me to read you some from Amazon.com. It really does work like the review says it does. I cannot believe that after the first few days, I didn't feel as sluggish or clogged up. It has had a profound impact on my physical, emotional well-being. I'm skeptical as most people about products and their claims, and I never write reviews, but this is a wonderful product and I recommend it to everyone. Great product. It has brought my blood pressure from the mid-150s over the 80s to the mid-130s over mid-80s, along with diet and exercise in just the past couple of months. Excellent. Thank you, David. Tell us your story. Get Extendivite today. Call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendivite.
How would you like to earn an extra $10,000 or more a month from the comfort of your home? We show you how to win with a home-based business opportunity. This could be one of the best financial decisions you ever make. Work from home, full-time or part-time. Plus, you'll never have to talk to anyone. Our professional sales team closes all your sales for you, and you keep 70% of all the sales made. You could be earning money while you're sleeping, shopping, working out, wherever you are, day or night. Our system goes to work for you. You can make a great income without any special computer skills or sales training. Plus, you get paid fast, within just 24 to 48 hours after our professional sales team closes a sale for you. Let us help you eliminate your financial concerns. You could be earning enough money to pay off debt, buy a house, a car, or whatever the case may be. We've got you covered. If you'd like to add an extra $10,000 or more a month to your portfolio, and you would like to know exactly what we're doing and how we're doing it, go now to www.getstartedwithus.com. That's www.getstartedwithus.com. Again, that's www.getstartedwithus.com.
Good evening from Boston, Massachusetts. My name is Frank Allen. Tonight, we welcome back Karen Stewart on the Republic Broadcasting Network. As you know, she is a retired NSA whistleblower. And they have taken her and run her through every gauntlet that they have. Okay, Karen, we have Marilyn from Ohio.
Hi, Marilyn.
Hi, Karen. Hi, it's Marilyn. I just am such a fan of your strength, and I just think that it's important to expose the top of the command on this terrorism against us as TIs, as American citizens. And one of the things that's happened to me in this torture is that they have recruited a large population of Black Americans, I'm Black, that are on welfare, disability, and in Section 8 housing, homeless people that are Black, and they're subsidizing their income after targeting them and recruiting them as gang stalkers and synthetic telepathy. And I've seen many of your interviews with Romola, Frank, and Catherine, and other people. And synthetic telepathy it's such torture. And so 2020, I vowed to expose what Dr. John Hall called boots on the ground, that there's a large civilian population that's going to be recruited that you wouldn't expect to hear about, that would be a gang stalker. And I just wonder what you knew about synthetic telepathy and why they would have so many people hive together to attack one person. I also get directed energy weapons hits. I have scars on my body, my head. So I understand that. But hearing other people's thoughts 24 hours a day, who don't even have like a college education, and it's psychotic.
That's a good word for it.
Yeah, and I see a lot of TIs, I don't want them to believe that only the NSA is targeting or it's government workers, that they get civilians, like regular working class people in neighborhoods, the middle class, rich people are participating in this, corporations, and the private sector, but that in the projects that people would call the hood, that in these black communities, it's out of control, Ms. Stewart.
Oh, wow.
It is just, it's baffling how psychotic it is.
Well, it's horrifying. Yeah. It is horrifying because you would think that some people who have been viciously mistreated in the past would be immune from being persuaded to do that to somebody else, but they're not. And it's rich and poor. I mean, the neighborhood my parents were in, one of the neighbors who was attacking us had probably a $400,000 house and then a $300,000 RV sitting in their driveway. Now tell me they needed money. I think what the Fusion Center does is they send representatives out to various areas, and it could be FBI, but let's say it's the Fusion Center, and they tell people, oh, we have this terrible person, and, the justice system just can't quite get enough evidence to put this person away, but we're going to go for social justice, and we're going to punish them ourselves. I think they get them all riled up with some kind of lie. Now, in Florida, I caught a neighbor telling another neighbor that I was a pedophile. So that's one of the lies I think that is very common for them to use about us. That's outrageous, and you just want to beat the crap out of somebody who says that about you. But that shows that the Fusion Center, they don't come and say, oh, Margaret or Susan or somebody like that is ugly and dresses funny, so we need to kill her. They don't do that. They totally fabricate things. And then they make up crimes, and they make up supposed evidence, and they get people riled up. But then even those people who don't particularly want to get involved, they wave the free money in front of them. And very few resist that. And if they do resist that, then they tell them, okay, what we're telling you and what we're doing is covered under a national security letter. That means you are gagged. You cannot speak about this to anyone, or we will put you in prison. So for those few people who have the sense, or at least suspect something is terribly wrong, they are gagged from saying anything to anyone, including the victim, or they will be put in prison. Now, it's questionable as to whether a gag order, which impedes upon your First Amendment, is even constitutional. That has been challenged, and at times it has been found to be unconstitutional. So, when we finally do end up having our day in court, I think that gag order will fall apart because the FBI and the Fusion Centers are misusing them. But I think there's a combination of factors. One, the free money, and another thing is, even if they don't particularly need the money, it gives them a chance to belong to a powerful and mighty group. And there's a sense of camaraderie, and we're doing something for the country, and, we're heroes, and that type of thing. It appeals to many people who are very marginal or who actually aren't particularly good people. And this is a way for them to fool themselves into thinking that they're heroes and they're patriots. So there's an appeal there on multiple levels, monetarily, and there's pressure from the group. What do you mean you don't want to do this? And then there's a chance to feel good about yourself when maybe there's not a lot of good about you to feel good about. So it's a psychological ploy. And then very possibly they're introducing some frequencies maybe as they stand there and talk to people or come into their houses and convince them to do this. They may be introducing frequencies that make you even more gullible than you naturally are. So, this is a huge operation, and they just basically get as many people as possible. And one, again, to to have line-of-sight houses or apartments or townhouses to hit you 24/7. And they don't want people in between because then they would be harming other people and they would start to have symptoms and there would be proof that they were doing something wrong. So they prefer to hit you as much as possible without anybody else. And if you are being hit with electronics from 3 different areas, then they tend to increase inside the house, because you have the strength of the 3 multiplied inside your house. So you feel very badly inside your house, and somebody walking through the beam from house A to your house may or may not really feel it. Now, as far as the neural monitoring or the telepathy, I'm not quite sure because this seems to be government experimentation. So somebody in some lab somewhere is getting information from it, and they are increasing their knowledge about this for whatever purposes that they want. And it could be their desire basically to dumb us down, take away our personalities, and just have us be drones that follow instructions that go straight to our brain. I mean, they have, I spoke to a man who was autistic, and he said he and his son are targeted. And they tend to like people who have the autism because they think that they control them a lot quicker and a lot better because they are not as grounded in deep emotions as far as noticing what other people think or caring what they say or caring what they think. They're just more so into themselves, is my understanding, even though I'm sure they're wonderful people, but they don't have the emotional depth a lot of people have. So they tend to like to see how this works on autistic people, unfortunately, which is really another cruelty on top of misfortune.
Okay, Karen, we have Fred from Michigan.
Hey, Fred.
Good evening. Jesse Ventura interviewed a super spook electronics engineer named Robert Duncan regarding voice of God technology. And I know this is another microwave version of that. I do know they have a whole spectrum of microwave energy weaponry, which can ultimately induce cancers, induce a total MI, myocardial infarction.
Oh, yeah.
So they're obviously playing with you. If they wanted you dead, you would have been dead. You would have been dead already.
I would say they've done some things that make me think that they have tried, and I've ended up with some medical damage that was not a joke. That was a hair from doing away with this.
What I'm saying to you is you need to connect. In Boston, I don't know. You said you visited your folks in Tallahassee, and there is a group, a very stellar, intrepid group, investigative journalists in that area called TRU, True News. They're actually a Christian group, but they are really bulldogs, hound dogs going for the truth, and they have really taken it to the satanic Judaic elements that are responsible for all of this. DARPA, it's emanating out of DARPA in this country. DARPA should be shut down. In Boston, there's a group, there's a Ellis Rothschild who's an MD, and every year, starting with 2015, at the National Press Club, you need to connect with these folks and start giving them a presentation. Second week of March, and Jewish Voices for Peace was organized by Ellis Rothschild, who was targeted by the ADL and the JDL et al. Because she dared to speak the facts regarding IDF atrocities committed upon the indigenous Palestinian populace, as well as the suppression of free speech on college campuses, where there's a documentary entitled Israel Lobby in America. They first did it. It was sanctioned by BBC, undercover, and the first one was Israel Lobby in UK, and then the one here in America. And it chronicles on college campuses how the ADL and the Jewish Defense League, which is on every college campus, how they organize and engage in false flag events like spraying swastikas and other, offensive graffiti on dormitories where there's a significant number of Jewish students. Okay,
Fred, 1 minute.
She has been classified by the ADL and the Jewish Defense League and all the rabbis. Wherever you have a synagogue, these are the Shabbat Lubavitch. They are a criminal, racist, terrorist organization, according to independent investigative journalists like Yoshi Shimatsu, a Japanese-American fellow who has contributed to Henry Makow out of Canada, who is a Jewish man up there, and he provides a forum. But Alice Rothschild, after her presentation, it's called, annually, the conference is called Washington Report on Middle East Affairs. Washington Report on Middle East Affairs, and it's sponsored by their think tank, IRMEP, Institute for Research Mideast Policy, IRMEP.
Fred, did you have a question? Fred, you have 1 minute. We only have an hour here to work with. Go ahead.
Right. So all I'm saying to you is, if you haven't heard of Jewish Voices for Peace, Alice Rothschild, in this group, IRMEP, you need to connect to them. And also, True News. You need to connect with anybody who has a dedication for the truth and isn't afraid to go after the culprit entities. I would even contact Jesse Ventura. I would contact, Veteran Intelligence Professionals for Sanity, Ray McGovern, VIPS, Veteran Intelligence Professionals for Sanity, Ray McGovern.
Okay. Thank you very much, Fred.
Thanks.
Okay, we have Christopher from Massachusetts.
Hello?
Hey, Christopher.
Hi, go ahead, Chris.
Hi, how you doing? I've been very familiar with your electromagnetic thing. I've had similar occurrences myself. I witnessed something, and lo and behold, it's been verified. I've been chipped by a dual RF. And my relative used to be ex-deputy director of Army National Intelligence.
Oh.
So the night that I was attacked, I called him, and I did see a lot of those electromagnetic, some of their gear in the perpetrator's house, and they live actually right next door. We've hired, a bunch of people to come out and do a national investigation, and my body has the organic, body burns. 52 different signals emitting from my body.
Yeah.
Chris, do you have a question, sir?
Oh, yes. I was wondering what will be your best method to get the police more involved, considering they're already in hot water, but to get them to actually learn and do something about it.
Well, it's kind of interesting because you're having to go a lot of the time to people who have been lied to and told that you're a bad person, that this is extrajudicial punishment that is allowed now that we're in a post-constitutional era. And, even if the guy on the ground, basically wants to believe you and help you, his supervisor may not want to jeopardize his career and go against what his supervisor is telling him. So it's tricky to try to educate them. I mean, I sent out to several police departments a letter a year or so ago, and, I really didn't see any type of response. And then I was told by two separate people at two opposite ends of the United States, that when they talked to the police actually brought me up and said, oh, yeah, we know about her and what she's saying. So I don't know whether they know about what I'm saying and don't believe it, or they know about it, but they're kind of trepidatious to do much about it. So I think we are getting through. The problem is it's so very slow to get through. But if anybody would write to their police, or I would actually more so suggest if you can get a copy of something that you think tells the story, send it to the police with a cover letter saying, this sounds like it's very ominous, and I'm worried about this. What do you know about this, and what are you doing about it? You know, pretending to be like just this concerned citizen, and don't tell them, oh, I'm a victim of this. You know, so if we can get more people to send letters like that, then we will start to wake them up without endangering the people who are sending them the letters.
Right, because I already got a pack of paperwork from the Supreme Court, which I was advised by the DOD, OIG's office, where I could put it because of my relative's position that they, like, for example, there was a person in Bethesda, Maryland, who was an advocate. He was a captain, and he verified an electromagnetic attack when I saw the perpetrator with the victim. But there's a jurisdiction gap.
Yeah, always an excuse.
Yeah, it's a huge mess.
It is. It is. They have absolutely upended law enforcement, and they've told them to either ignore us or participate. You know, I mean, this is Orwellian. This is like the Orwellian concept of the firemen coming to your home to burn things. You know, so you've got law enforcement a lot of the time either turning a blind eye on purpose, pretending they don't know what's going on, or actually participating. You know, I wouldn't be surprised if they told some of these cops that if they participated and did well, that they would be given jobs in the FBI. You know, I mean, that's an enticement.
Oh, the specialty badge thing?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because the people doing this to me is a medical family, so they've already gone through that whole routine. So I was stabbed by a bore needle when this first began.
Oh, my word.
So, you know, I have
I'm so very sorry. Uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
And I was advised by the... Oh, sorry.
Yeah, no, I want people to keep their evidence, and I want them to keep their hope, because at some point in time that evidence is going to be important. And if you look at the nation politically, we are in an asymmetrical war. This is not just politics. This is deadly. And there will be a point at which, and I think that the patriots, the people who want the Constitution, the people who want America to be what it should be, I think that we will win. And at that point in time, all of these crimes will be revealed, and that there will be a true investigation by people who want to get to the bottom of it. So do guard your evidence and keep collecting it, but be very careful with it so that you retain it and it's not stolen or destroyed.
Right. Oh, yeah, exactly. Like I have federal documentations that I have that verify things like this.
Excellent.
And my relative was ex-agency also, so he wrote reports in. So it's just like the perpetrators mouthed off when the CIA were here one day, and they said, "You can't trespass, you're not police."
Okay, Chris, I'd like to give Karen the opportunity to close because we have like 2.5 minutes left, okay? Thank you so much for calling in. And thank you, Fred, and thank you, Marilyn. Okay, Karen, you're all set.
Okay, well, I again wanted to thank you for the opportunity to speak. People may not hear a lot about me. I just kind of, I'm looking for venues. I'm looking for people to write. I'm writing letters and more flyers, and kind of consulting with other people and saying, you know, what do you want to say? And seeing if they'll write letters that reach the same people I'm reaching. Like, for instance, we saw that Senator Graham from South Carolina got on CNN 2 and was talking to his constituents, but also generally the people, saying that the FISA courts and the FBI, I think is what he said, were basically, and I think that Devin Nunes mirrored this, who is a congressman from California, that they were colluding to harm the American people, that they were falsifying charges against people, putting them on the terrorist watch list fraudulently, and how would you like it if it happened to you? So I said, bingo. I wrote up a very short letter and passed it out to many people, basically saying, Dear Senator Graham, I'm one of those people that the FISA court and the FBI have targeted illegally, immorally, and unjustly, and I want you to look into these crimes. Now, we didn't elaborate, and people were welcome to put their own stories onto that letter, but I said, we really need to shoot this off to him so that he gets letters from Maine and Florida and Iowa and Alaska, telling him I'm a victim of this too. So he says, oh my gosh, this is national. So, we need more letters. Don't think your letter doesn't mean anything. If I write something to someone and 15 other people write their letters to the same people, it makes an impact. You're supporting me, I'm supporting you. So we still have a lot of work to do, and think that way, that your letter matters, that your voice matters.
Okay, Karen, thank you so much for appearing here tonight, and I'm sure you'll be back because the people just love you.
You guys are so kind. I appreciate it.
And I'd like to say good night from Boston, Massachusetts. My name is Frank Allen.
Is that a new music app?
Yeah, check it out. Surfer Music Discovery. It links to thousands of online stations, but the twist is you see the song names and artists that are now playing live.
That's different. No guessing. Looks like a waterfall of music.
So many formats. Rock, oldies, country, R&B, jazz, and a whole lot more.
How's that spelled?
Surfer. S-U-R-F-R.
Is it expensive?
It's free. No need to sign up or sign in.
Get the Surfer Music app free from Google Play or the App Store.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
This is RBN, the Republic Broadcasting Network.